the baseline of these negotiations should be, as a minimum, ceasefire along the existing front lines. Is that realistic? It is realistic. Would Russia agree to that? Apparently no. But would Russia agree to that if this peace offer is backed up by real strength from the US, by giving Ukraine more long-range capability, by imposing more sanctions? The answer would probably be Russia would be more inclined to sit down at that negotiating table and talk in good faith.
The Prime Minister Keir Starmer will give a statement in the House of Commons later today with an update on the Ukraine peace talks. Though there is an absence of hope for some, there seems to be some diplomatic momentum. The US Army Secretary is meeting with Russian officials in Abu Dhabi. The coalition of the willing will gather on Zoom. And the reports US and Ukrainian officials have agreed on a new 19-point plan during talks in Geneva. So what is Kyiv hoping for, and how likely is an agreement with Russia? Yuriy Sak is a former advisor to the Ukraine's Defence Ministry and joins us now. Yuriy, morning to you.
Good morning, Stig.
We've spoken a lot before. Lots of talk, lots of promises, lots of Russian influence, and yet the bombs keep falling. As of this morning, how optimistic are you feeling that there's a route out of this?
Well, we have to be optimistic, don't we? Because otherwise, we are in a very difficult situation. Bombing every night. I mean, last night was another massive attack on the capital, Kyiv, and other Ukrainian cities. 6 civilians killed in Kyiv alone. Our energy infrastructure, again, was dealt a blow by Russian missiles and drones. And the winter is coming, but we have to be optimistic because that's what keeps us going. At the same time, of course, we are skeptical as well, because everything Russia does demonstrates that regardless of how many versions of a peace agreement we will offer to them, they're not interested in peace, because anything short of full and complete capitulation of Ukraine will not satisfy Russian maximalistic demands. Their objective is the destruction of Ukraine's statehood. And we are very happy and fortunate to have our European partners supporting us, and we know why they do that, because today in the morning, a Russian drone again entered the Romanian airspace. So the signs of Russian threat are, with every week closer and closer to Europe. This is why the European unity is instrumental, and we hope that we will keep the US on board as well. And as the negotiations in Geneva have shown, and our president said it very openly and specifically, that there is hope for constructive peace process. But of course, it will have to be backed up by real strength on the part of the US.
Because in the end, though, let's be real about this, Yuri. Is there any version of peace that will be right and proper, acceptable to you, that Russia would agree to? And it doesn't strike me that there is a version of events here that you'd be happy with and Russia would be happy with.
Stig, if, for example, that 28-point plan was offered to Russia without any amendments, without any discussions between the Ukrainian and the American side, that 28-point plan that contained so many red lines for Ukraine, I mean, Russia would still not accept it. Exactly for the reason that I mentioned, because Russia's objective is not peace. Russia's objective, the objective of this genocidal war, is the destruction of Ukrainian statehood. So that leaves us in a bit of a dilemma. Why bother at all?
Yeah,
why
exactly.
negotiate? Why meet in Geneva? Why do all the dances, right? And the explanation to that is quite simple. If the US and Ukraine work out a formula that will be just and realistic, like, for example, Ukraine will never concede those territories which are now under our control. So the baseline of these negotiations should be, as a minimum, ceasefire along the existing front lines. Is that realistic? It is realistic. Would Russia agree to that? Apparently no. But would Russia agree to that if this peace offer is backed up by real strength from the US, by giving Ukraine more long-range capability, by imposing more sanctions? The answer would probably be Russia would be more inclined to sit down at that negotiating table and talk in good faith.
Is Zelensky the right man to lead you to that position? I wonder how much confidence you still have in Zelensky, how much confidence does the people have in Zelensky? We're aware of the corruption scandals that have gone around his administration in the last couple of weeks.
Stig, as we have seen in the last week or so, this corruption scandal, of course, disappointed and devastated many Ukrainians, but we have also seen that President Zelensky responded to that scandal adequately. So he didn't cover up for those corrupt high officials. The Minister of Justice was sacked and is under investigation. The Minister of Energy was sacked and is under investigation. Other high-level people who were involved in that scandal, who were on those tapes, they are now under investigation and sanctions have been imposed on them. So the president has demonstrated that, we as Ukrainians, we know that corruption, we haven't been able to root it out completely yet. But the issue is, do we have now efficient law enforcement agencies in Ukraine that can combat corruption? And the answer to that question is yes. And president is at the top of this law enforcement pyramid, if you like, and he's acting the way he should be, the way he promised when he was elected. So Ukrainians are disappointed, but we are behind our president when it comes to his peace efforts. And I think this gives him strength and this gives us hope.
And before you go, Yuriy, in a word, if we have this conversation in a year's time, will the war still be going in your view?
I think yes.
Yeah, and that's probably I think that's probably a downbeat but accurate assessment. Yuriy, we always value speaking to you. You're a good man to take the time to talk to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.
That's Yuriy Sak, their former advisor to the Ukraine's Defence Ministry.
That is at the end there. Yuriy Sak saying he believes that Ukraine will still be fighting that war in a year's time. I think that is the most devastating but honest, response to what we're seeing. Yeah. And we will keep on.
And what is the point of the dance? I'm so glad he said that, because I'm sick of it. Like, the coalition, the willing, the 28-point peace plan. Russia doesn't want peace. The US doesn't really care. What are we doing?
Well, what else can be done?